Picture a railway platform, London, September 1939. The air smells of coal smoke and anxiety. A woman kneels in front of her 7-year-old son, tying a small cardboard label to the lapel of his coat, his name written in ink, already blurring in the damp morning air. She smooths it flat, stands and lets go of his hand. That tag is now the only thing connecting him to everything he knows. It is his identity, his medical record, his logistics document, and his lifeline, all in one small square of card tied with string. But here is what most history books miss. That tag was the living expression of a survival philosophy soldiers had been developing in the mud of the Western Front 20 years earlier. Welcome to Fieldcraft Chronicles. Today we go deep. During Operation Pied Piper, over 1.5 million people were moved from cities to rural reception areas in days. No computers, no databases, no scanners, just card, ink, string, and human organization. The tags carried a child's name, address, school number, and health conditions, standardized enough to be processed at scale, personal enough to ensure the right child reached the right billet. This is Fieldcraft thinking applied to a civilian emergency, the same instinct that drives a survivalist to mark a water source, or a soldier to label his kit before moving in darkness. The information had to survive handling, weather, and chaos. That is a design challenge as demanding as any piece of military equipment. Place yourself in a fire trench near Ypres, winter 1916. The walls are dissolving in rain. Duckboards sit 6 inches above water that smells of mud, cordite, and something you don't want to name. Rifle bolts jam. Rations arrive cold and late, and yet men survive. Not by accident, by system. The British Tommy was, by necessity, one of the most adaptive field operators in history. The first and most important lesson was organization under chaos. The same principle later printed onto a child's luggage tag. Know what you have, know where it is, know where it needs to go. Soldiers lined their sleeping spaces with salvaged timber, corrugated iron, and ground sheets packing sandbags as insulation, understanding instinctively that dead air trapped in a bag of earth holds warmth almost as well as wool. These are the same principles that underpin modern debris hut construction, refined under the most punishing conditions a human being can endure. Food management demanded equal ingenuity. Small cookers fashioned from biscuit tins, heat tablets traded along communication trenches, positions memorized where hot tea could be obtained during a stand-down. Water was more critical still. Shell craters poisoned the groundwater. Men learned to read the landscape, springs above the clay line, vegetation signaling subsurface moisture. Skills that any serious bushcraft practitioner will recognize immediately. The First World War produced modern military camouflage. Ghillie suits modelled on Scottish gamekeepers, sniper posts disguised as tree stumps, faces blackened with mud before a night patrol. Every technique earned at the cost of the men who got it wrong. Equally critical and almost never dramatized was hygiene. Trench foot killed more operational days in certain sectors than enemy action. The response was systematic. Daily foot inspections, dry sock rotation whale oil rubbed into skin as a water barrier. In modern survival training, hygiene is often treated as comfort. The soldiers of the First World War knew differently. Neglect it, and you degrade your capability before the enemy fires a single shot. The men who designed the 1939 evacuation system were drawing, consciously or not, on 2 decades of hard-won knowledge about managing human beings under pressure. The tag said, "I know where this resource came from. I know where it needs to go. And I have documented it so that when the system fractures, as systems always do, the information survives." That is the oldest lesson in Fieldcraft. The form changes, a cardboard tag, a ration book, a frequency list taped inside a helmet. But the principle is identical. In chaos, the person who has documented their situation before the crisis arrives is the person who comes through it. The soldiers of the Western Front and the evacuees of 1939 had no illusions about fragile systems, so they built redundancy into everything: the spare dry socks, the extra canteen, the notation on the back of the tag. The Fieldcraft practitioner today is not preparing for war, but the discipline is identical. Know what you have, document it, protect it, adapt when it fails. The men and women who survived those wars were not extraordinary people. They were ordinary people who had learned to think systematically under pressure. That skill can be taught, it can be practiced, and it begins with something as simple as a piece of card tied with string. If this episode gave you something, a new lens on history, a deeper respect for those who improvised their way through 2 world wars, or a single idea you can take into your own preparedness practice, then this is exactly what Fieldcraft Chronicles exists to do. Subscribe now so you never miss an episode, and share this video with someone who values history, self-reliance, and the art of survival. Every share keeps this channel alive. We'll see you at the next fire.